You know what nobody tells you about divorce? Your ex-wife is about to walk straight into a psychological trap she trained herself not to see. And no, this is not some calmer bedtime story where she realizes what she lost and crawls back. This is uglier than that. It is what happens when someone trades certainty for a fantasy, then has to watch that fantasy collapse one crack at a time, and it starts sooner than you think. Picture this while you are listening: men in quiet apartments, lights off, phone glowing, scrolling her Instagram. She's posting about a new chapter, about healing, about living her best life, and those men are bleeding in silence, convinced she is winning while they are drowning. But here is what is actually happening behind the filters and the captions. She's about to hit a reality so sharp, her mind will have to rewrite the story just to survive it. Because when a woman leaves a long marriage, she is not just leaving you, she's leaving an entire psychological system, one she does not even know she lives inside. Think about it. For years, you were her reference point. Decisions, emotions, future plans. Even when she trashed you to her friends, you were still the axis her world rotated around. And now she is floating, no gravity, trying to call weightlessness freedom. But freedom feels amazing, right up until the silence gets loud. So let us get specific. Because what unfolds next follows a pattern so consistent, it is almost mechanical. Phase 1 is the honeymoon with herself. It lasts anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months. She is high on her own decision. Every morning is a private applause: I was brave, I was strong, I chose me. And in that phase, she is not actually living in reality. She is living inside a story she's telling herself about reality. In her story, she is the heroine. She escaped. She chose herself. She is finally free, and everyone around her helps her write it. Her friends feed her approval like oxygen. You look amazing. You seem lighter. You're glowing. You deserve better. And she takes every compliment as proof. She changes her space, because changing the space helps her believe she has changed the life. She changes her routine, because a new routine feels like a new identity. She posts the smiling photos, because the photo is not for you, it is for her. It is her way of saying, see, I did the right thing, and somewhere in that same window of time she opens the apps. Maybe she tells herself it is harmless, just curious, just looking, just seeing what is out there. And at first it works. The attention hits like a drug. The matches come in fast, the messages come in faster. She mistakes quantity for quality. She mistakes attention for intention. She mistakes novelty for value. Because in her mind, this is what better looks like. A screen full of options, a steady drip of validation, 100 little signals that say, you are still wanted. And if you're watching from the outside, it looks like she is winning. It looks like she moved on. It looks like she upgraded. But that is the trick. The honeymoon phase is not proof. It is anesthesia. It numbs her long enough to avoid one simple question. What did I actually leave behind? And she will not ask it yet. Because if she asks it too early, the story collapses too soon. So she keeps moving. More outings, more dinners, more plans, more posts that say she is thriving, more captions that sound like a speech she is giving to herself. And then, very quietly, the first crack appears. It is not dramatic. It is not a movie moment. It is small. It is almost nothing. It happens on her first real date, not the playful texting, not the flirting, a real date, a real table, a real man sitting across from her smiling like he has done this 100 times. On paper, he looks perfect, put together, successful enough, confident enough, smooth enough. And for a minute she feels the relief, the rush, the thought she has been chasing since the day she left. See, I was right. Then the night ends. The walk to the car happens, the air gets quieter, and he makes his move, not violently, not even rudely, in a practiced way. And in that moment something hits her cold. This man does not actually care about her. Not really. He does not know her fears. He does not know her habits. He does not know the version of her that exists when life is heavy. To him, she is a Friday night, a possibility, a moment, and that is the first crack. Because it is the first time she realizes what she forgot to count. She thought leaving you meant leaving problems. She did not realize it also meant leaving being known. And she feels that loss, just for a second. But she does not stay there. She cannot. Because doubt is dangerous right now. Doubt threatens the whole identity she has been building. So she swallows it. She smiles. She tells herself it was just one date. She tells herself she is just adjusting. Then she doubles down. More dates, more conversations, more nights out. She turns her life into motion, because motion keeps the mind from sitting still. And at first, she can still pretend it feels good. The attention is still there. The newness still sparkles, but something changes. The messages start sounding the same. The compliments start feeling cheap. The men start feeling interchangeable, and without even realizing it, her mind starts doing what minds always do. It starts comparing, not out loud, not consciously. She would never admit it. But in the background, her brain is pattern matching. This one disappears. This one pressures. This one performs. This one is charming until it matters. And with each comparison, something uncomfortable happens. You start looking better in hindsight. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. You were consistent. You were there. You were home. And that realization terrifies her because it does not fit her story. So she adjusts the story. She tells herself the dates are just bad luck. She tells herself she's still early. She tells herself the right man is out there. And this is where the trap tightens. Because she's not just dating men. She's dating the idea of better. She needs the new world to confirm the old world was not worth keeping. She needs a replacement to justify the removal. Now listen carefully, because this is where reality starts collecting. The dating world after divorce is not a romance movie. It is an economy. And in an economy, attention is cheap. Consistency is rare. And serious intention is the rarest thing of all. At first, she thinks the apps are proof of her value. Look how many want me. Look how easy this is. Look how fast I can replace what I left. Most of it is not selection. It is volume, designed to keep you chasing, not chosen. And the types show up fast. The player who smells vulnerability, the man with a hidden life. The rest is just noise with a profile picture. So the system rewards the wrong signals. Fast, loud, easy. And she walks into that system thinking it was designed to deliver her better, when in reality, it is designed to keep her searching. And that searching is about to turn into something else. Because the next phase is not heartbreak. It is panic. Panic does not look like tears at first. It looks like acceleration. More plans, more nights out, more busy. Because if she keeps moving, she does not have to feel the weight of what she chose. And for a while, the movement works. Until it does not. Somewhere around month 6, month 7, the novelty stops numbing her. The dates blur together. The conversations repeat. The excitement turns into maintenance, and she starts noticing something that scares her. The attention is still there, but it does not feel good anymore. Compliments feel hollow. Flirting feels transactional. Chemistry feels cheap. Because the brain eventually learns the difference between being wanted and being valued. And when she realizes she's mostly being wanted, not valued, something inside her tightens. This is where the first real exhaustion shows. The performance costs more now. Every post takes effort. Every smile in public feels heavier. Every new chapter caption feels like she's trying to convince a jury, and the jury is not her followers. It is her own mind. So the panic splits. Some women sprint, others shut down. Either way, the same fear is driving it. Other women collapse. They cancel plans. They stay in bed longer. They scroll without reading. They stare at the ceiling like it owes them answers. But almost all of them do the same thing at some point. They start rewriting history. Not because they suddenly love you, because they need the math to work. The marriage that was unbearable, maybe it was not unbearable every day. The man who was the problem, maybe he was not the only problem. The future she was so sure about, maybe she miscalculated. And that thought is dangerous. Because the moment she admits she might have been wrong, she's not just admitting a mistake, she's threatening her identity. For months, she has been wearing one sentence like armor. I did the right thing. She has said it to her friends. She has posted it without posting it. She has built her social story on it. So she cannot simply drop it, not without feeling exposed. That is why her mind creates a safer sentence. She does not say, I was wrong. She says, maybe things are different now. Do you see the trick? Maybe you changed. Maybe you grew. Maybe you finally became what she needed. That story lets her look back without taking responsibility. It gives her a bridge back without admitting she burned the first one. And while she's doing that, another pressure starts squeezing her from the outside. Her social world begins to contract. In the beginning, her friends were loud, cheering, validating, feeding the story. You deserve better. You're so strong. You did the brave thing. But months pass, and the energy shifts. Her married friends start pulling back. Not with an argument, with distance, fewer invitations, shorter calls, group chats that keep moving without her. She sees the photos later, tables full of couples, and her name is nowhere in the tag list. Because she's not just a friend anymore. She's a reminder that marriages end, a reminder that stability can break, and to some couples she becomes something else, a risk, not because she's trying to steal anyone, but because a single woman near a fragile marriage makes people nervous, so the circle tightens, and her single friends are not always a safe landing either. Because now everyone is fishing in the same water, and when options feel limited, friendliness starts competing with survival. Even if no one says it out loud, she feels the shift. Her support system becomes conditional, present when she's entertaining, absent when she's heavy, and that is when the loneliness changes shape. It stops being occasional. It becomes structural. Not, I wish someone was here loneliness. I have nowhere to put myself loneliness. Now add the pressure most people ignore, the practical pressure. Being alone costs more than people admit. Not just money, energy. Every decision is on her. Every emergency is on her. She used to have a default person, a built-in witness, someone who absorbed the small shocks of life with her, and now she does not. So she fills the space. Not with peace, with noise, more plans, more distractions, more proof, and the proof becomes exhausting. Because at some point she realizes she has been performing happiness for so long she cannot tell the difference between a real smile and a practiced one. She laughs and it sounds normal until she hears herself. She posts another quote, then feels nothing. She gets another message, then closes the app emptier than before. That is a terrifying moment. Because numbness is not freedom. Numbness is the nervous system's saving power, and once she hits numbness, she starts craving something she cannot post about. Safety, not excitement, not butterflies. Safety. The kind of safety you only notice after it is gone. And that is when the room starts getting loud. The empty kitchen, the empty side of the bed, the long stretch of evening where no one reaches for her without thinking. Freedom felt good when it was new. Now it feels like space, and space starts to feel like nothing. So she reaches for the phone, not for fun, for grounding, a notification, a message, a sign that she still matters to someone, somewhere. And if nothing comes in, the silence gets louder. That is why the late-night texts begin to appear more often. Not dramatic, not romantic, small. Hey, how are you? I was just thinking about something. And what she is really saying is not in the words. I need to know there is still a door. I need to know I did not lock myself out forever. That is not love. That is panic reaching for the last familiar surface. Sometimes she comes soft. Sometimes she comes sharp. Sometimes she comes angry, because anger feels stronger than regret. But they all point to the same reality. The story is slipping. And when a story slips, the mind tries to grab anything it can to hold it in place. That is the moment she starts looking for a life jacket. And she remembers the last one that worked. Not because you were perfect, not because the marriage was painless, because you were stable. You were the person she could reach without thinking, the emergency contact, the default witness, the one who knew her patterns before she even spoke. And now, in the new world, she keeps discovering what stability actually costs. Because the better she imagined was not a plan. It was a feeling she thought would appear automatically once you were gone. But feelings do not appear on command. And the world does not reward your narrative. It rewards your leverage. And that is why, around the 1-year mark, the reckoning stops being occasional. It becomes physical. Sleep gets lighter. Mornings feel heavier. Her appetite changes. Her focus slips. Not because she is weak, because she is carrying two truths at the same time. I did the right thing, and I feel worse than I expected. Those truths cannot live together without friction, so the mind spends energy every day trying to reduce the friction. That is what people do not understand about regret. Regret is not just sadness. Regret is cognitive labor. It is the mind working overtime to protect the ego from the truth, and overtime has consequences. She becomes irritable, or numb, or anxious. She starts living in a low-grade emergency, without a visible emergency, and the cruelest part is this: nobody sees it. Because her public version is still smiling, still posting, still performing. But the private version is burning through her reserves, and that is why Sunday nights start becoming her worst nights. Sunday night is when the performance ends. The weekend is done, the distractions are gone, the noise drops. If there are kids, they are asleep or they are with you. If there are friends, they are with their own families. If there is a new man, he is not there. And in that quiet window, she feels what she's been avoiding. Not empowerment, not freedom, the absence. She sits on the couch with the TV on, volume low, just to make the room feel less empty. She scrolls her phone, slowly, without caring what she sees. She checks messages, then checks again, then tells herself she is not checking, and then the thought slips in. What if I did this to myself? That thought does not scream, it whispers, but it poisons everything. Because once that thought enters, the story starts losing its grip, and when the story loses its grip, the next behavior becomes predictable. She tests you, not with a confession, not with an apology, with a probe. Hey, just checking in. How have you been? Can you talk? Sometimes it is nostalgia, a photo, a memory, a song. Sometimes it is anger, a random accusation from years ago. Sometimes it is a crisis that is not really a crisis, just enough to justify contact, and all of it is for one reason. She needs to know if you are still there, because if you are still there, the fantasy did not cost her everything. If you are still there, she can tell herself it is not irreversible. If you're still there, she can breathe, and if you respond, you give her that oxygen. You give her a way to keep the story alive, because she can say, see, he still cares. See, nothing is truly lost. See, I can still control the outcome, but if you do not respond, something else happens. Reality finally gets a clean shot. Your silence removes the leverage, and without leverage, she is forced to sit with what she chose, without the comforting illusion that she can undo it whenever she wants. This is why no contact works, not to punish her, to remove the illusion. The mind begins to scan for what it lost, not the arguments, not the resentment, the system, the safety net, the default person, the stable witness, and that is when the phantom moments start showing up. She reaches to share something funny, then remembers. She hears a song and expects a reaction, then feels the gap. She opens the fridge, reaches for something and realizes there is no one left to tell. These are small moments, but they stack, and every small moment says the same thing. You're not here, and you're not coming back unless you choose to. That is the shift. Because now the power is not in her story anymore. It is in your decision. And this is where the most brutal irony kicks in. Around the same time she's collapsing in private, you start stabilizing in public. Not because you are celebrating, because you are adapting. Men do not always process pain by talking. We process it by building. Structure, routine, work, gym, silence. Not because it is perfect, because it is controllable, and slowly the chaos inside you starts turning into discipline. You stop checking her page, you stop chasing answers, you stop trying to win an argument with someone who already left. You start sleeping a little better, eating a little better, thinking a little clearer, and then she sees it. Maybe it is a photo, maybe it is the way you speak now, calmer, shorter, less reactive. Maybe it is something the kids say without realizing what they're saying. Dad seems good. Dad is laughing more. Dad feels different. And that lands in her chest like a weight. Because it creates a new form of torture. She does not just regret leaving, she regrets when she left. Because now she can see the version of you she demanded. But she can no longer claim it. You became stronger, more stable, more grounded. And she is forced to watch it from the outside. She becomes the catalyst for a transformation she cannot benefit from. And the moment you look genuinely happy, not performing, just peaceful, something inside her fractures, because your happiness becomes evidence. Evidence that the marriage was not the prison she made it out to be. Evidence that the life she wanted was possible. Evidence that you were capable of being loved, just not by her. And that forces the final question. If you can build a better life now, what exactly was she chasing when she left you for better? This is where the fantasy dies. Not loudly, quietly, in 1,000 small moments. In the silence after another date that went nowhere. In the empty kitchen on a Tuesday. In the Sunday night dread. In the ache of being seen by the wrong men and invisible to the right ones. She wanted better. But what she found was an economy. And in that economy, attention is cheap. Consistency is rare. And true intention costs more than she expected. So she adapts. She lowers standards and calls it open-minded. She tolerates disrespect and calls it flexibility. She accepts inconsistency and calls it freedom. And every compromise chips away at her self-respect, until the better fantasy becomes smaller and smaller, and the loneliness becomes heavier and heavier. And then, one night, in a quiet room, she finally understands it. This is her better. Not the captions, not the quotes, the quiet reality. And your move is simple, no contact. Not as punishment, as protection. Because your silence becomes the mirror she cannot bend. While she holds the story together, you rebuild for real. This is no contact signal.